well. Facebook.com/LiveNowDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT as well, as Mike and I take a look at the quarterbacks around the AFC in 2021 fantasy. And this is proudly brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub, as I mentioned, in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, not one of or not a, but the Fantasy Football Power Hour. Brought to you by the Wildcat on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, with indoor and outdoor dining 7 days a week, as well as takeout and delivery by calling 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. With that being said, let's bring in the man of the hour, Mr. Sofka. Mike, how are we doing today?
Doing awesome. How are you, Dan?
Doing well. Mike, when we take a look at different things that we've been able to do here on the show, we've been able to talk about running backs and different pieces and whatnot. And now we have the opportunity to talk about the quarterbacks of the country, which I'm really excited about. What can you say about what you're looking forward to in the grand scheme of things to be able to provide shows like this and provide opportunities like this? I mean, we really honestly get to do some really awesome things here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So, what do you look forward to when we get to give this fantasy advice?
I look forward to the fact that we haven't scratched the surface of what we're capable of doing. So there's always a lot of upside, and I'm trying to get to that.
Forward to when we get to give this fantasy advice.
Keeps moving further away, but that's okay.
I look forward to the fact that we haven't scratched the surface of what we're capable of doing. So there's always a lot of upside, and I'm trying to get to that.
Forward to when we get to give this fantasy advice.
Keeps moving further away, but that's
I look forward to the fact that we haven't scratched the surface of what we're capable of doing. So there's always a lot of upside, and I'm trying to get to that.
Forward to when we get to give this fantasy advice.
Keeps moving further away on that, and I'm going to get better, and I'm going to learn something. I learn something new every day. And in fantasy football, it's the same way. You can learn something new every day if you just spend a little time with it every single day. So we've just scratched the surface of what we're able to do here, and I'm excited for tomorrow. I'm excited for tonight. I'm excited for when season starts. I'm excited to get in drafts. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, that excitement that we have, that we share with you, the fantasy owners all over the world. There could be people in Dublin, people in, Morocco, wherever you may be. You could be in South Africa, you could be in Alaska or Nova Scotia or, in Central New York, in Central Florida, wherever you may be. When you need fantasy football assistance, Mike and I are proud to help you in any way, shape, or form that we possibly can. We're here for that. And we welcome that, and we appreciate you for giving us that opportunity to listen into the show and watch the show every Wednesday. Inside a Wake Up Call, the Fantasy Football Power Hour is here with you every single Wednesday between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So, Mike, let's waste no time and hop right into it. We're going to start in the AFC North. We're doing AFC quarterback situations to get you ready for your upcoming 2021 and 2022 NFL Draft. So for this upcoming season, Lamar Jackson, thoughts on him? What does he bring to the table? Is he still worth it? To give some background numbers on the man, he had over 2,700 yards passing, 2,757 last season, 26 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, and obviously more on the ground. What are your thoughts on the Baltimore Ravens quarterback situation?
Well, it is obviously Lamar Jackson's the guy. There's nobody else comes close to him. So, they're on the Ravens team. I mean, I don't think Tracy McSorley is ever going to push him to be the starter. So I think first off, he knows that going in. Everything rides on him. Everything's on him. Last year, he had a little bit of dip in than he did in his MVP campaign 2 years ago. But here's the thing. They've built up things around him a little bit better. You got Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews who are coming along in their own. They're maturing in their tenure that they've had so far. You got offensive coordinator Greg Roman. He's saying that they're going to open up the playbook. They have Rashad Bateman now, the former first rounder. There's Sammy Watkins. So I think what they put around him, they're helping him. I know his buddy and the guy that stood up for him and, talked about him at press conferences, and Mark Ingram is gone. But, it's a business to some extent. You can't have a guy on the team because he's a great rah-rah guy all the time. Maybe that works one season. But he does have J.K. Dobbins, who can run the ball well. So they're one of the few teams that have a fullback. They're using Patrick Ricard, of course. And, I like what the Ravens do. I like the situation they're in the North. If I'm drafting and I'm looking for a quarterback, I'm thinking that Lamar Jackson, I'll be very happy with that. The former first-round pick, I got him in the top 4. I've seen him as high as number 1 on rankings, but most everybody is in that 3 to 5 range, and that's where I have him number 4 in a redraft situation. And by the way, when I'm giving these projections and these rankings today, they're all based on PPR formats. I know it doesn't affect the quarterback that way, but they're also based on 5-point touchdowns. And what I mean by that is some leagues are 4 and some leagues are 6. So I go 5 points to split the difference. But if you want something more specific, if you want your league's exact scoring, you just contact me on the website and I'll help you with that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And speaking on Lamar Jackson, I mean, this is a guy who's been a threat, and I think that, in his couple seasons out there as a starter, he's obviously shown that, he can get it done. As he said, pretty good for a running back when people were talking about the fact that he can't throw. Lamar Jackson playing in 15 games this past season, 64.4% completion percentage, which is pretty dang good. We look at the completion percentages of the country for quarterbacks, and as we look at that completion percentage, Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees, Deshaun Watson, all 70% point something. And so we look at Josh Allen with 69.2, and then you see that, that 64% for Lamar Jackson was there with Nick Foles and Andy Dalton and Tua Tagovailoa and Matt Stafford and whatnot. He was actually above Matt Stafford by 0.2. So, that's where things are at. He was above Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz, Drew Lock. So just something to look at, not a bad quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. He is going to call his number a lot. He's going to get out there and do what he needs to do. Lamar, the question is, can he? They have a lot of weapons on offense. Can he get the ball out to them consistently? And, can he make good decisions? And will he be able to help out the receivers that are there? Because that's, questions people have. Bringing in a guy like Sammy Watkins and whatnot, Marquise Hollywood Brown and Miles Boykin. Are these guys really going to ultimately long-term benefit from Lamar Jackson? And will you benefit from drafting them? But Lamar Jackson's one of those guys. He's one of those weapons that you don't want anybody else to have and go up against you with. So it's one of those things that if you maybe not necessarily are completely sold on him, do you really want to play against him? And that answer is usually no. So I like drafting Lamar Jackson. I think he's got a lot to bring to the table, and obviously his running ability is very helpful on your team as the leading running back of the team, and a guy who can get you 1,000 yards on the ground and over 1,000 yards through the air. That's something to be said that very few are doing in the NFL and throughout history. How many guys are really providing you an opportunity to be your top running back and top quarterback, arguably, on the team? Joe Burrow. Next up, Cincinnati. Brandon Allen is behind him. My guy Eric Dungy from Syracuse got an opportunity to go out there. What are your thoughts on the return of Joe Burrow, as we saw some good things from him in his rookie season, but with an ACL and MCL injury, he went out, and now he's looking to come back?
Yeah, I like Joe Burrow a lot. I think he has the most upside. I wouldn't have him as an RB1 this year, just coming off those injuries. I think he's capable of having a year where he could be my QB1. I think he could be my QB1, but not this year. Dynasty, yeah, I'm all in. If I'm going to start up Dynasty, he's capable of being my QB1. Looking at what they've done around him, he had a great year going in his rookie year. 5 games over 300 yards. One of those games was over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns versus Cleveland. But I take a look at what they're doing now to put around him. Jamar Chase, his favorite target in college, basically. I mean, Tyler Boyd, who at one time was capable of being a number 1 on anybody else's team. Same thing with T. Higgins. T. Higgins is going to be in a slot. He's going to be very instrumental for what Joe Burrow is able to do. And so is Joe Mixon in the running back position there. So I don't think anybody can touch him on the team. I don't think Brandon Allen or Kyle Shermer is going to threaten Joe Burrow's position. If he's anything like himself last year, he'll have a great year. But I always look at the second year coming back from major knee surgeries like that as the more realistic situation. Not everybody's Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson able to come back a little quicker than most people. Adrian Peterson reset the bar as far as that's concerned. But the quarterback position is just where you're pivoting on every play. You're planting on every play. Your knees are in play of getting hit every play. So with that in mind, I always think that maybe the quarterbacks are a little more skittish, even though you won't necessarily see it. It could come down to microseconds. But I still like Joe Burrow. I still like what he has to provide. I still think there's a lot of upside. This year in a redraft, I got him ranked number 14. I've seen him as high as 9 and as low as 22. Again, I got him at 14. That's somewhere in the middle. So not my QB1. But in Dynasty, yeah, I have him ranked as number 9. So I like Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I think Joe Burrow brings a lot to the table. I think there's a lot that, there's benefit in having Joe Burrow on your team for sure. But I think that, ultimately what it comes down to is the fact of, like we were discussing, with Joe being where he is coming off of an injury, the question is, can we really lean on him? Can we really rely on him and on his legs? And that's going to be a question that comes up, which I think puts him as a quarterback 2 on your list. I think, easily it puts him there. He's a very good quarterback 2 to have on it. I mean, I had Tom Brady, took a flyer on him and put him out there. And when I had Tom Brady, I had Joe Burrow on the same team. And I put Joe Burrow right behind him and gave him an opportunity to go out there and prove some things to me, which he did. And he did a fine job when he was out there. There were moments where he, at the end of the game, could save, my fantasy day because of the fact that, this guy was putting up 40 points, maybe even 50 points in certain games. So I like Joe Burrow. I think he's a quarterback 2. I do agree with that. I don't find him as a quarterback 1. Numbers-wise, last season, what he was able to do wasn't too shabby as a rookie, but nothing overwhelming. He also didn't get to play a full season. He had 2,688 yards passing, 13 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. His completion percentage in 10 games was 65.3%. I like him as a backup. He's a very serviceable backup, and if you get him as a backup on your team, then you're putting yourselves in some good footing. So I like the idea of having him on the squad, but he's not my QB1, and it's just really as simple as that. Coming off of injury, being a rookie, not playing your full rookie season means that you are still getting acclimated, so that's going to take some time. Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns, as we go through the AFC, Mike, we're given the quarterback situations around the league, and the next one up is Cleveland inside of the AFC North. What are your thoughts on Mr. Mayfield?
Yeah, I think Baker's a good quarterback. I'm a bit worried about him. He hasn't done what I thought he would do. Yes, they've done well. Yes, the Browns have turned around. They're no longer, the joke. There's no longer, we'll buy you a beer when you win your first game. Oh, we didn't buy any beers for anybody this season. Ha, ha, ha. It's no longer that. It's where are they going to land in relation to everybody else for a playoff spot? And then what are they going to do when they get there? They've had some injuries around him. Odell's been banged up, but I don't think Odell's been Odell since he's been with Cleveland, really. Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's got some receivers. Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant should have a good year. David Njoku still. They got great guys in the backfield, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So there's really no excuse. But they did. The Browns picked up his fifth-year option, which means they have him under contract through the 2022 season. But if he can continue the growth, if he can continue to push the team further, if he can continue to reduce the mistakes, if he can take the team to the promised land, he's going to get an extension sooner than that, and I'm sure he would like to do that. Well, strike now while the iron's hot, Baker. He's got it in him. Unfortunately, I don't think he has it in him to be a redraft or QB1 for me this year. I think in Dynasty, I would still look at him in a similar fashion. I got him ranked number 19. I've seen him as high as 11 and as low as 28. But again, I got him at 19. I got him about the same level in Dynasty, too. So you're going to get what you get with Baker. Hopefully, for his sake, he'll be taking the Browns to the playoffs.
Yeah, he's not a terrible quarterback. You know, he's not somebody that is totally not worth getting and putting out there. I mean, but the reality is he consistently great? You know, or is he occasionally okay? Is he occasionally good? You know, and I think that's really the question that we have to ask. You know, is where does he sit with everybody else? And you know, he's a backup quarterback. That's who he is. He's a backup. You know, he's a backup on my team, and I'm still waiting for Baker to come out and do something, you know, great. But this is how I feel. I called him Johnny Manziel 2.0, and you know, and what I meant by that was Johnny Manziel obviously with character things and this and that. I mean, there was a lot of stuff with Johnny, unfortunately, and I hope that he's getting the help that he needs and that he's okay. But you know, ultimately, for me, I don't see the overall talent, you know, really shining through here and making me say, hey, you know what, this is a guy I definitely have to have on my team. I'm okay with him being drafted by somebody else, you know, and that's something to be said. You know, I'm okay with him not being on my team. So what does that mean, you know, for the rest of the league? You know, I mean, being okay with Baker Mayfield not being on my squad, and there's so many other people that I would think of drafting before him, and that puts me in a situation where, you know, I'm really not concerned about what he's going to do or not do in the grand scheme of things. So, you know, I mean, do I think he has talent around him? Yes, but I think the best thing in Cleveland is the running game. You know, it's Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. They ended in fantasy statistically in the top 10, both of them. So, you know, I mean, trying to figure out Baker Mayfield, I don't want to deal with the headache every single, you know, week. That doesn't mean that I don't think he's talented. That doesn't mean that I don't think he's capable of doing good things. It just means that I'm really not sold on him. I would draft Joe Burrow ahead of him inside of this division. And to give a recap for those of you that are on here, we want to welcome you all in and let you know inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, where you can go for indoor and outdoor dining 7 days a week. You can also call them for takeout and delivery at 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. Mike and I talking about the AFC quarterbacks going from division to division, giving you advice ahead of your fantasy football drafts on who you should be looking at when it comes to the AFC quarterback situation. Starting in the North, Mike and I both giving a vote of confidence to Lamar Jackson, who can get you over 1,000 yards passing and rushing from season to season, which is a huge, huge thing, and obviously a very valuable and not something you come by with every team and many of these teams. So Lamar Jackson, definitely a QB1. Joe Burrow, a high-end QB2. And Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, a lower-end QB2. A final piece here, Mike, of the AFC North. Your thoughts on Big Ben Roethlisberger. The man has allegedly toyed with the idea of retiring, if you believe that he actually has, and he's back. He's back with Najee Harris now. He's back with Juju Smith-Schuster, who decided to stay. He's back with Deontay Johnson, who's a young receiver on the team. James Washington, who hasn't really risen up consistently. Ray McLeod, who came from Clemson, who hasn't risen up consistently. And Chase Claypool, who has made some hay there. What are your thoughts on the quarterback situation with Big Ben back? Time's not up on Big Ben.
No, time's not up, but you know, I can see that light at the end of the tunnel, and it might be a freight train. This is a bad situation. You know, I'm going to stay away if I can. I don't think Big Ben is I don't think you can count on him anymore. He's able to go off any season because of that, you know, people around him, like you mentioned, Smith-Schuster, Claypool, Johnson. They added Najee Harris, which I think is what they're going to do. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball a little more. That's kind of what they did. It's kind of what the Broncos did back in the day with Elway. As he was getting up there and out there, they increased the run a little more. So that, you know, that you make a note of that for Najee Harris and company. But at the same time, Ben is capable. He's a capable quarterback. I just don't see him as my QB1. If he goes down, I think Pittsburgh's in trouble. I don't think Mason Rudolph's the answer. Mason Rudolph's had time there. He's had years there. And he's had time to step up, and, you know, when Ben was out. And that didn't go very well. So at 39, I'm not sure that Ben Roethlisberger is Tom Brady. but they're sure giving him the weapons and the things around him. And it sounds like they have a game plan intact to make the Steelers playoff worthy, to make the Steelers winners in the end. It's just they got a tough division as well with, we just reviewed Cincinnati and Cleveland, and then you got Baltimore. And you just wonder, when you get older, it's the cold weather, right? Hits your bones. A lot of old people move away to Arizona, to Florida to get out of the cold because it doesn't chill them to the bone, doesn't hurt them to be in the cold. Ben plays in the cold weather, and Ben's getting old. So, I just put it like that. I got him ranked number 20 on redraft. I've seen him as high as 15. As low as 15, as high as 31. I just don't feel confident he's my guy. So he'd be a QB2 for me, but not a QB1.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on this. I think that it is a danger zone. First and foremost, the reality of it all is look at where things are at with him. Look at the situation that we have been in with Ben Roethlisberger. When he has not been healthy, look at what is behind him. Mason Rudolph. Now Dwayne Haskins is there. Josh Dobbs is there for, I believe, his third stint, because he's gone and he's come back and he's gone and he's come back. He went to Jacksonville for a hot minute and came back. So, there's really nothing behind him. And if you have a team quarterback situation, which I have in my leagues, I allow you to play team quarterback, which means if somebody goes down, then you get the next man up. And what that does is it's a security blanket for you. If your quarterback goes down in the first half and, let's say Dwayne Haskins comes in, plays out of his mind, and he gets, a couple touchdowns for you, and Ben had 2 touchdowns. Well, instead of having 2 and you're screwed, you have 4. So, that's something to look at. And I think it's a very valuable thing to do in a fantasy football league. So you do have that. But in this situation with Big Ben, I don't like the situation that you would have if somebody went down. I don't think it's a great situation if somebody went down for you. That, there's really not a ton of value here, in my opinion, and that is the tough thing to have to deal with in this situation. So I think that looking behind him is a danger zone because, Ben has not proven that he can stay healthy throughout in recent history, and that concerns me very much so. So he is talented. He can do some good things, but maybe he's the third quarterback on your team, and maybe you take him later on in the draft. Somebody in your draft may draft him very high, and if they draft him high, let them, because they're thinking about Big Ben maybe 5 years ago, 6 years. I don't even want to say it like that. It's just not the same situation. It's just not. I love his longevity. I applaud his longevity. I give him credit for his longevity. But at the same time, I think fantasy-wise, we're looking at a Big Ben that's, if he retired mid-season, I wouldn't be surprised. This is somebody who has allegedly for the last couple of years toyed with the idea that maybe he's done. And I don't want to draft somebody that's going to put me in a situation, especially in a team quarterback situation, where I'm going to be behind the 8 ball. There's better backups. There's better situations around the league. And I think that it would behoove you to take a look at those. AFC South, Mike, let's head there before we take a step aside for a fast break. Your thoughts on the AFC South as we start things off with taking our look at the Houston Texans. For now, Deshaun Watson's their quarterback. It looked like maybe he wanted to leave. It looked like maybe they wanted to make him stay there. This embattled, strange relationship that Deshaun Watson has with the Houston Texans then turned into a bunch of stuff going on off the field. He's still on the team. However, they brought in Tyrod Taylor from the Chargers. They drafted Davis Mills with their first pick that they had, which they didn't pick until the 3rd round. And now they have Jeff Driscoll. What are your thoughts on the Houston Texans as they drafted a quarterback out of Stanford? They brought in a former starter that was on multiple teams with the Bills and the Chargers and Tyrod Taylor, and Deshaun Watson is still away from the team. What do you do with Houston?
Yeah, if I'm in a dynasty league, I still have some hope for Deshaun Watson, but not this year. So with that in mind, he's like a grenade to me. In field of battle, if you see a grenade roll, you want to get the heck away from that grenade right away, because the closer you are to that grenade, the more likely you are to get injured. And that is what Deshaun Watson is, and I'm going to stay away from him. I got him ranked number 27. I've seen him ranked as high as 10, as low as 38. But here's the deal. We don't know what's going on with these civil lawsuits. We don't know what's going on with are there criminal charges that are going to come from this? He's probably going to get suspended. And then you're going to have Tyrod Taylor. So this is just a bad situation. I still think he has value and talent. I still think, unless something drastically changes, that he could be back and has more long-term appeal in the following seasons. But I just think there's too much. He's asked for a trade. He doesn't want to be there. They keep saying we want him there. So now what's his trade value now that all these criminal and civil liabilities are out there? So it's a bad situation all around, and I'm staying as far away from it as I can.
Yeah, what used to be a guy that people would think is a top 4 quarterback. I mean, in some of my leagues, there were people that drafted him number 1 overall, which I very much disagreed with by every stretch of the imagination, because he wasn't a receiver or a running back. But, this is a player that was looked at and highly touted as one of the best in the league. Not okay, not one of your starters, but your starter, the starter. There were people arguing that he was, I'm going to draft him above Lamar Jackson. There were people that wanted him maybe above Pat Mahomes or right after Pat Mahomes. Now we're looking at a situation where who wants him? Who wants to take this headache, not knowing what this headache is going to be? Not knowing if it's going to end, when it's going to end, how it's going to end, where it's going to end. So we're in a situation right now where this is a giant danger zone. This man went from hero to zero. He went the opposite way. He's falling down the list, and the I don't know is, it's not that he's not talented. It's not that he's not capable. They took away his top receiver, so we thought that might affect his numbers. But now he may have taken away his NFL career. If any of this is true, and any of this stands in a court of law, we may see the end of Deshaun Watson. Think about that, how fast things can change. So, folks, when you think the decisions you make in your life, and this is not me condemning him in any way, shape, or form, this is me making an example of, things in general. If you think in your life that the things that you say and the things that you do cannot come back to bite you, and you don't care how you treat people, you don't care if you hurt people, you don't care what you do to people, let this be an example to you that a man that was on the top of the mountain, a man that was poised to make himself millions and millions and millions of dollars, to get an extension, to have a fantastic contract, to be put in a place where he would be set for the rest of his life times a million, he may be on the outside looking in. So when you think the decisions you make don't affect anybody, and when you think how you treat people doesn't matter, let Deshaun Watson be an example to you on how quickly life can change when you don't necessarily make the best decisions. I'm staying away from Houston. My 2 things in Houston that I used to count on all the time, DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson, because no matter what, they got it done. Well, one of them's gone and one of them is in limbo. And the Houston Texans are making moves to bring in quarterbacks. That should tell you something. Watch the chess pieces. It doesn't look pretty right now. And it's very unfortunate for Texan fans who don't deserve to have to go through this and thought that things would be better. And to everybody that was involved with the off-the-field stuff, if any of it's true, my prayers and my hopes go out to the families that were affected. The Indianapolis Colts, Mr. Sofka. Carson Wentz is there now. Believe it or not, the Indianapolis Colts have had Phillip Rivers, Andrew Luck, and now Carson Wentz, and Jacoby Brissett amidst all of this. They've had 4 starting quarterbacks in the last 2 years and some change. What are your thoughts on Carson Wentz and the future of the Colts? And is it draftable?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is one of my projected risers in the quarterback category. And what I mean by that is, if you look back to 2017 when Carson Wentz had a great year just before his ACL injury ended the season, who was his coach? Well, his coach was Frank Wright. Frank Wright was the offensive coordinator when Wentz lost Wright to the Colts head coach position after that. Well, he hasn't been the same. So I think reuniting him with Frank Wright, a guy he has confidence in, and confidence is a lot of things, even on athletes at this level like we're talking about, because of the complexities of what they're doing on a daily basis, and they need to translate that physically onto the field. I think he's got great weapons all around him. I like Jonathan Taylor. Naeem Hines can catch the ball. Sounds like Marlon Mack is capable in the backup role still. T.Y. Hilton's still there, and I think he's going to have an improved season. Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell have both been dampened by injuries. I think they're going to come around. I think that the Colts team is a team that can be scary. I think they could surprise some people. Now, you need to watch my rankings as we get closer to the season. Right now, I have Carson Wentz ranked number 17 in a redraft situation. I've seen him as high as 13 and as low as 27. So definitely in that QB2 range. But I think he has more upside, and I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up being one of the top QBs at the end of the season. So I do like Carson Wentz. He's got upside this season, but right now he's number 17 on my redraft.
Yeah, I think Carson Wentz he definitely has some value. He hasn't been in the league that long, folks. Jared Goff, now a Detroit Lion. Think about this. The number 2 picks just a few years back, Jared Goff, now a Lion. Carson Wentz, now a Colt. And it feels so weird to say that Carson Wentz is there now. It's so strange because, Andrew Luck was only 29 years old when he retired. So, a very weird situation, yet here it is. It's happening. And it's almost as if, in a way, because he hasn't been in the league that long, it almost feels in a strange way, but I guess a cool way for Colts fans. It's almost like you drafted Carson Wentz. So, the best years, hopefully, are ahead of him if he could stay healthy, which has been an issue in his career. But 16 touchdowns to 15 interceptions last year, not going to do you a whole lot of justice. And this is a new situation. So hopefully the situation will work. Hopefully he'll be able to get it done. He definitely has a bunch of weapons. He's got some check down help. Hashtag check down, and every other Wednesday you have it right before Fantasy Football, the Fantasy Football Power Hour with Prince Tyson Gully and myself, Dan Tortora, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, bringing you check down every other Wednesday from 9 to 10, and then Fantasy Football from 10 to 11. Looking at this, Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack coming back, T.Y. Hilton still there, Michael Pittman Jr., Paris Campbell. There's a bunch of weapons. Jack Doyle still a weapon here on this team, Mo Alley Cox. So there's some good stuff for Carson Wentz. I think that he can definitely find some hay with some weapons. Naeem Hines is there as well. So I think that this is a good situation for him, and hopefully he excels at this situation because it is something to... I just don't want to see an end to Carson Wentz, in this league. I want him to have that resurgence. I want him to stay healthy, and I want to see what he could do. So I'm excited to see how he moves forward in the grand scheme of things here, and very much looking forward to it. So I appreciate him so very much. Thank you to Ross, who said a must-watch show for all big football fans. Really appreciate you saying that, Ross, so thank you for your support as always for our Fantasy Football Power Hour and everything we do here on Wake Up Call inside of the Cafe Kubal studio. So I think Carson Wentz, again, he's draftable. He could be a low-end number 1 when all's said and done. Could be a mid-range number 1 when all's said and done. I do agree with Mike that he is rising. He's a good guy to get as your backup, and he may be forgotten by some, so you can snatch him up and put him on your team. The Jacksonville Jaguars, Mr. Sofka, well, they have Trevor Lawrence, trick play Tim Tebow, and Gardner Minshew. And they brought in C.J. Beathard from the Niners, and they have Jake Luton. I would imagine that not all these guys are going to be on the team. I really hope they don't let go of Jake Luton because they got him really cheap in the draft, later on in the draft. And I don't want to, Brandon Allen did some good things. Now he's backing up Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. I don't want the same thing to happen with Jake Luton where Jacksonville doesn't know what they have. Hashtag Alan Lazard. So I really am hoping that they at least keep him. I don't know what the heck they're going to do with Minshew, Tebow, Lawrence, all in the same room. C.J. Beathard's been a starter. Jake Luton had to go out there last year. So there's so much going on. All these guys in the same room is going to be interesting. I know Tim Tebow's written down as a tight end, but let's face it, I believe he'll be used in at least a trick play or two. What are your thoughts on drafting Trevor Lawrence in your fantasy league?
I like him. I can't give him QB1 status quite yet. I'll have to see something maybe in some preseason. Maybe he'll move up a bit. I think he's capable of being one of the top quarterbacks in the league. In a dynasty situation, I would definitely look at that a little bit differently because of the talent he has around him. If Marvin Jones can just have a fraction of the success he had in Detroit, the Jaguars are going to be fine. Then you take in consideration you got DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault. I like the up-and-comer and Colin Johnson. You have Philip Dorsett rounding out that wide receiver room. They have talent around him. I mean, you look at the running back situation. James Robinson came out of nowhere last year, undrafted. And then Travis Etienne, who they've been practicing at wide receiver. I don't think he's going to be playing wide receiver, but when James Robinson and Etienne is on the field and these other three wide receivers, they don't even need a tight end, but that's okay because they got a few in the wings that are going to be working out. Yeah, they couldn't get the tight end they wanted. It's just math at a certain point. You can't have everything all the time. I think they're going to be just fine in a tight end position. I don't think Tebow's a big impact. I think Tebow's the locker room guy. I think Tebow's the steady ear and mouth whispering to Trevor Lawrence. So I think this, you look at the additions that Urban Meyer's made. He brought in Ohio State guy in Carlos Hyde. He's brought in some people around the situation to make things more comfortable. He brought in Tebow, who knows the system. So not all these guys are there just because of the system, but it doesn't hurt that situation either, especially when you have a young team. The defense is improved. Defense is going to continue to improve. I think that's paramount for the success at a quarterback. That's highly underrated in a quarterback's success, the defense he has. So I think Trevor Lawrence has a tremendous upside. I would draft him all day long as a QB1 in Dynasty, but this year right now I have him ranked number 15. Now I've seen him as ranked as high as 11 or 12. I've seen him as low as 29. I got him at 15, but I think there's an opportunity for him to finish the year as a QB1.
Yeah, and I think that, seeing this, I do agree that Trevor Lawrence he can only go up from here in Jacksonville is the notion and the reality. So I think that, I definitely think Trevor Lawrence is not a QB1 going into the season as a rookie, but he can be coming out of the season. I think he will be. And he's someone to pick up in your draft at probably somewhere in the middle and give him a shot and give him a chance because he's got weapons. He's got Travis Etienne with him from Clemson. He's got James Robinson over 1,000 yards and almost the Rookie of the Year offensively last year for the entire NFL. DJ Chark and Marvin Jones Jr. and Laviska Shenault are all there. Philip Dorsett's been added to the fray. There's a lot to be said about what's coming in. Tim Tebow's a part of the team now. So I think that Trevor Lawrence does bring a lot and has weapons and has Urban Meyer. There's a lot of good that can come out of this SEC meets the ACC with Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow and Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne Jr. So I'm excited to see what Jacksonville is going to put on the field. I think this product's going to be good, and I think people are going to be wanting to buy Trevor Lawrence high next season, so you might as well get him low this season. Last one we have to go to, Mike, before we take a step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios as we talk about fantasy football quarterbacks and where to go in your fantasy football drafts. The last team is the Tennessee Titans of the AFC South to discuss. What are your thoughts on Ryan Tannehill? And really, Ryan Tannehill. Deshaun Kaiser from Notre Dame is on the team as well as Logan Woodside. But this team has run through Ryan Tannehill. He, like Teddy Bridgewater, got a second chance at life. Well, Teddy got a third. And, with Tannehill and Teddy both getting opportunities, Teddy's was taken away from him in less than a calendar year. Ryan's was extended. What are your thoughts on Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah, I think he's got some receivers there that he can work with. I think he showed everybody a lot in the past year or so that he's been with Tennessee. I think he's opened up some eyes, and I think he's capable of being a QB1 for you. Now, I say capable. I didn't say he's going to be that guy. He has that ability. He has the people around him. Heck, he has the best running back in the game right now in Derrick Henry. But I think there's a little drop-off. After those one or two guys, he has A.J. Brown. Josh Reynolds comes over from the Rams. He's going to be in the slot. I'm just wondering where these other guys are all going to fit in, and I don't think they have quite enough. Do they have enough to make a respectable run? Yes. But in the AFC South, I don't think they're going to I don't think they're going to just roll through it. I think the competition is too great. I think things are a little more even now. With that being said, I think Ryan Tannehill is capable of being a QB1 for you. He's on the back end for me. He's number 11. I've seen him as high as 9. I've seen him as low as 15. I think you can expect bottom end QB1 numbers from him is what I'm saying. So, as long as you know where your level of expectation is, as long as you know that, your quarterback doesn't have to win your league for you, well, then Ryan Tannehill's your guy. I got him at 11.
Yeah, he's not bad. He really isn't. He's a low-end 1, high-end 2. He's a guy that's going to put numbers together, and I think, he'll be serviceable. I think that, he's a good guy to have out there. Josh Reynolds coming over from the Rams. A.J. Brown is back. Some other guys trying to find their way here on this team. Ultimately, for me, I think because Derrick Henry runs so well, it opens up the passing game for Ryan Tannehill and helps to make things a little bit more balanced and easier for him and can do what he needs to do. There's value with Tannehill. He's a low-end 1, high-end 2, and he's a guy who's not, one of those picks that people go crazy over, so people may forget about him and they may not think, oh, that's not a big enough splash for me, so I'm not going to make it. So I'll jump in the pool and, throw Ryan Tannehill the ball and see what he has going on. So I think there's some good to be had with Tannehill, and I definitely think in the AFC South, better than Houston's situation. And, I think with Carson Wentz with the Colts, depending on how that goes, Tannehill, he has got a lot of value here too. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be the rising star coming out of this. Wentz has an opportunity to be. And Tannehill resurrected his career, leaving Miami and going to Tennessee, and his numbers don't lie to you. Just to let you know what he did this past season, Ryan Tannehill finished this season here, just to give you some numbers on Mr. Tannehill and what he was able to put forward. He had 3,819 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Sounds like Rodgers numbers when you say 33 and 7. So not a bad bet for you to pick him up, and make sure you don't wait too long. And you can't go too high, you can't go too low. You got to find him somewhere, maybe in your third, fourth round, depending on how deep your league is. If it's only 8 to 10 teams, maybe you can wait until the 5th or the 6th or something like that. But he's somebody that could emerge on your team, and you don't want to be playing against a guy who's going 33 and 7 like he did last season. With that being said, we'll take a fast break, and when we come back, Mike and I will be bringing you plenty more here where sports meets life inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And they are there 7 days a week for indoor and outdoor dining, as well as a volleyball court for you. And you can find them on takeout and delivery by calling 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. This is Wake Up Call, and you are inside the Cafe Kubal studios with plenty more coming up right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. We are inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios having a great time with you per always, and very much enjoying this beautiful Wednesday morning. Can't believe it's Wednesday already, but it is, and we're inside of the AFC conversation. Every quarterback of the AFC, all those situations being broken down for you here on the show for fantasy football advice on every single one of the 16 teams that make up the AFC. We started in the North, then we went to the South, now we head to the East with Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com, and of course of our joint venture on Facebook. You can join the group for free, Winning Fantasy Football. That is Winning Fantasy Football. Join our group on Facebook so you can chat with us in a live chat room all the time. You can constantly be writing to us and getting our thoughts and sharing different things and asking questions. And we implore you to do that. We have 2 rules in our Winning Fantasy Football group on Facebook. Be respectful and justify your opinion. So respect one another. And if you have an opinion, talk about it. Give us some substance. And let's go back and forth with it. And let's have a good time. Our table is always welcome to add another seat. And you are always welcome to sit in that seat as long as we can respect one another and have some good, fun discussion. Inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly powered by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Open 7 days a week for indoor and outdoor dining, and open 7 days a week for takeout and delivery by calling 315-487-2222. So make sure that you get connected to the Wildcat Sports Pub and head out there today and support your locals and support these amazing, amazing people that are doing incredible work all the time, including Danny Tome and the team over at the Wildcat. Mike, we got asked a question, so before we get into the AFC East, I want to address this. If you are to wait on a quarterback, who do you think will bring the best value in the late rounds in a redraft league?
Yeah. Let me see. I would probably tend to go with maybe taking a very risky flyer. I mean, it depends on your level of risk. Depends on your comfort. You want to bet on the 40-1 or the 30-1 long shot. It depends on where you're at. As long as you know what you're getting. It's a high risk. It's a volatile pick late in the draft. But I think one of the guys that could make a big leap is Tua in Miami. He's number 18 right now on my rankings, and I think he can make a big jump with the familiarity around him, with them bringing in a former receiving partner of his. So I think that I would think Tua, I don't know, maybe Daniel Jones if Barkley comes back in full force. I mean, you got to know a little more information. So follow along. Right now, I would say Tua, maybe Daniel Jones, but follow along and see how that changes with me. Ask me that same question in August. I might have a different answer.
Yeah, I like your Tua. I like your Tua there. I think Daniel Jones may not last later on, but I also think Jalen Hurts. I think Hurts is a guy in a redraft league that people are going to pass on. They're going to be thinking about who Carson Wentz can be in Indy more so than they're going to think, Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia unless they're a strict Philly fan. So I think that that's something. I also think Tyrod Taylor, if the Deshaun Watson thing goes south, somebody's gonna have to run that team. So that's a late and a big chance, but that's there too, but I think Jalen Hurts. I love the Tua pick. I think Jalen Hurts is another one of them because Jalen Hurts is a question mark, and I think people are going to, let him fall. I would have said Joe Burrow, but I think people are going to pick him up earlier. So if you are to wait on a quarterback, who do you think will bring the best value in the late rounds? I think Tua and Jalen, arguably Daniel Jones. I think those all make sense because I don't necessarily believe. I mean, you think about what people are going to draft, right? So they're going to draft Pat Mahomes, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and Matt Stafford, arguably Kyler Murray, Jared Goff, Ryan Tannehill, Big Ben will get drafted, Baker. So this list, by the time you get to some of these guys, you might be in the 20s, and so there's value there. I would have said, like, really taking a chance on Andy Dalton, but Justin Fields is in Chicago, so that's the thing. I don't think Sam Darnold's necessarily going to pan out, so I think it makes sense to say Tua, Jalen, Daniel Jones, depending on how he's written in your league, Taysom Hill, because he's a guy who you might have picked up, and look at him now. So, and I'm just not sold on Jameis Winston being the starter. I think they do better if they have Taysom Hill. So that's just my thoughts. I like the question, though. Shout out to Greg. Thank you for that. Buffalo, Mike, will start in the AFC East with Buffalo. Josh Allen, by the numbers, this man is a freak of nature. And what he's been able to put forward, 16 games in the regular season, 69.2% completion percentage, second to just 3 players that were at 70%. And he had 4,544 yards, 37 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. The man's just a phenom coming out of Wyoming. What are your thoughts on Josh Allen?
Well, he's just getting better, and he's gotten better each and every year, and that trend should continue. Last year, his accuracy improved to 69%. That was an 11% jump over 19. He also hit career high in passing yards over 4,500, touchdowns 37, yards per attempt at 7.95. His interceptions went up by 1, but he threw over 100 more passes. So this is a guy who still gets it done with his legs as well. So I like him. I don't think there's anything I can say against him. They brought in Mitch Trubisky, but he's not going to challenge. They still have Jake Fromm, who they drafted, who was a touted quarterback out of Georgia. Davis Webb from the left coast thought to have a time with the Giants for a little bit, but that wasn't going to work out. So I don't think any of these guys are threats to Josh Allen. I think having Devin Singletary and Zach Moss as a thunder and lightning combination is going to bode well for him. Cole Beasley in the slot, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, the UCF product who is capable of totally stretching the field, yet can be that possession receiver. And they brought in another old man at receiver, Emmanuel Sanders, who still has some game. So I think the future is bright for Buffalo. I think the future is bright for Josh Allen. I have him ranked as the number 2 quarterback in redraft. I've seen people have him ranked as number 1 and as low as 4. If you want a quarterback in Josh Allen, if you want one of the top quarterbacks this year, as soon as quarterbacks, if somebody takes Pat Mahomes, I wouldn't argue with the next pick being Josh Allen. That's where I'm at. I think he's got tremendous upside, and he's number 2 on my rankings.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player. I mean, there is no question about it. He's come into the league by storm. He's shown that he can run the ball when he needs to as well. I mean, he has truly been something very, very special. And, beyond any stretch of the imagination, this man has been just a very, very strong player. And he's someone that you really can't argue, like you said, you can't argue somebody taking him early. And if somebody comes off the list, right, Pat Mahomes goes off, and the question is, oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm not going to deny that either, that you should look at taking him, because why wouldn't you? I mean, it's a great situation to be in if Pat Mahomes is there, or pardon me, if Pat Mahomes goes, I'm not gonna knock anybody for going and taking Josh Allen. So I think Josh Allen is a phenomenal player. I read you his numbers. There's not a lot of conversation to be had here. Draft him, draft him, draft him. If you're thinking about it, draft it again. And, listen, not number 1 overall, but he ain't that far out of it. This guy's probably going in your first round, if not in your second round. So make sure that you make the right decision when you have the decision to make to draft a guy like Josh Allen, who I agree with you, Mike. I think we're looking at one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL right now without really any question, unless you're not watching football. So Josh Allen, definitely worth picking up and putting out there. Next team on the list here as we go through the AFC East is going to bring us to the Miami Dolphins. What are your thoughts on Miami? We just talked about Tua, so let's have a little bit more discussion about him.
Yeah, I let the cat out of the bag a little early, but that's fine. I think the Dolphins adding his former Alabama teammate Jalen Waddle is going to bode well. These guys know each other very well. Waddle was really the number 1 there. I know Devonta Smith won the Heisman, but Waddle had an injury-plagued final season there. So you add in Will Ford, Devontae Parker, you got Lynn Bowden, who they're going to use like a Swiss Army knife. Preston Williams, so there's still speed. Jakeem Grant, Alan Hearns, if he can get himself on the field, I think he's going to have trouble getting on the field there. But Myles Gaskin, Malcolm Brown, this is where it gets dicey. This is where these guys are going to have to step up. They're going to have to spread the ball around, and hopefully they can get the production out of Gaskin and Brown. But right now, if I'm a defensive coordinator, the Miami game doesn't threaten me at all. So I can focus on Tua. I can put that extra man to rush that young quarterback, because nothing will make you rush any faster than having a 300-pound guy breathing on you and he comes free. That will send chills up and down your spine. So I think Tua is not above the big situation, being the star that he was at Alabama, being the star that he was in high school. Nothing's ever been too big for him. I think he's still learning. I still think there's a curve. There's a lot of people that don't believe in him, and I don't know how you cannot believe in him. He has that it factor, that Favre type thing. There's only certain people that have that it factor. I can't tell you what it is. I don't even know if I can describe what it is to you. But I can tell you, Tua has it. I like Tua. Right now, he's number 18 on my ranking. He's going to move up. In August, I'm probably going to have a different view. I've seen him as high as 12 and as low as 27. Right now, he's 18 with a lot of upside. In a dynasty, I wouldn't mind taking a risk on him either. I like Tua. I think he's going to be an excellent quarterback.
Yeah, I think Tua is worth taking. I mean, this man has an incredible story, and his incredible story of his fight and what he does and how he does it, and his belief in God and his faith and just who he is out there on the field. I mean, this man ousted Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts eventually left the team because Tua had taken over the squad in Alabama. I think Tua, now not having Ryan Fitzpatrick there, gives him some more wiggle room and maybe some more breathing room to do what he needs to do. Mike and I said, in a redraft, this guy may fall to you. Jacoby Brissett's behind him. He's serviceable. And Reed Sinnett behind that. But Tua Tagovailoa, this is his team now. Myles Gaskin, who Mike and I both thought drafted so late a couple of years ago, could emerge, and he has emerged. We wouldn't be surprised if he was the starter. Now he is. So there you go. That's why you listen to the show. Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle, all these guys there. Preston Williams has done some good things, trying to make the team, trying to figure things out. Alan Hearns, Jakeem Grant, and so on and so forth. Malcolm Perry, former quarterback of Navy. So Miami definitely with Tua, I think that it's looking up, and there's going to be some positives coming in the future. He's a good guy to have as your backup. Some people are going to let him fall in the draft, and if he falls to you and you need your third quarterback and you can go and take him, he's not a bad guy to take. He could emerge as your 2, and maybe someday he'll be a 1. I think Tua trends upward, and when you're going into the stock market, just like fantasy football, you want to find things that you can buy low and sell high. You want to find, a way to get in and get something good at a good value. And I think Tua gives you that good value that you're looking for. Next one up here, Mike, when we take a look at the AFC East in our discussion on all the quarterbacks of the AFC, an entire show today dedicated in the Fantasy Football Power Hour just to the quarterbacks of the AFC, giving you all 16 teams so that you can get ready for your draft and go back and look at this when you need to. Next one up, the New England Patriots. They have a man called Mac Jones. And everybody says Cam Newton, Cam Newton, Cam Newton. And I say, yeah, okay. Week 5, Week 7, Mac Jones. What are your thoughts on the situation in New England?
Yeah, I'm going to stay away from this one, too. I know before I said I was going to stay away. Again, I'll use the same analogy that, it's like a grenade. I'm getting as far away from this as I can because I don't know what the outcome is. And I do know part of the outcome could be very bad. Cam Newton is probably going to be the guy most, if not all, the year until you look at the Patriots and maybe they're putting up a losing record. Maybe it's time for Mac Jones. Maybe he's progressed enough. We've seen Belichick start rookies. We've seen Belichick's had no problem with keeping a rookie on the bench the whole time. I think in a touchdown-only situation, Cam would be somebody I might look at because when he gets near the goal line, Cam loves him some Cam, and that's okay. You need touchdowns, but you can't go in looking at Cam that gets you, 300 passing yards and 100 rushing yards every game. He's not Lamar Jackson. This guy is, aged a little bit, but at the same time, there's still some value there, but very little. I mean, if he fell into my lap off the waiver wire, if with the last pick in the draft I took Cam, I might feel good about that. But right now I got Cam as number 31. Who, folks? There's 32 teams. I've seen them as high as 15. I've seen them as low as 37. You know what the problem is? I got Mac Jones at 33 right behind him. So I don't know what the situation is going to be. It's fluid. It could change. It could change by week 5. So right now, I think Cam could have a better year than he did last year. It's just I'm looking at the weapons they have around him, and I'm not sure he has enough in the weapons department. Great. They couldn't decide on which tight end to bring in, so they brought them both, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Yeah. Are those guys going to hurt each other? Is that going to stunt the growth of some other guys like Devin Asiasi? Kendrick Bourne, who is that? He doesn't scream fear into my defense. Nelson Aguilar, yeah, okay, he used to be a good slot guy, but now he's on the outside. Jacoby Myers, if he was going to do something, he would have done it by now. N'Keal Harry, same thing. One guy I like on the outside is Gunnar Olszewski, but all you got to do is go back to Cam. Cam's the leader. Cam's going to be the guy. Their season's going to go as Cam goes. If Cam has a great season, New England's going to have a great season. If he doesn't, we're going to see Mac Jones sooner than we think. I'm staying far away from this situation in New England with a quarterback.
Yeah, and I think I don't disagree with people that are going to stay away from this situation. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think ultimately when push comes to shove, what are you going to do? And are you going to really put yourself in a situation where you don't know who the guy's going to be and when? That's the issue of this team right now is who's it going to be and when's it going to be? I think it will be Mac Jones, but what is Cam Newton going to look like? And again, team quarterback. If you're in my league and you have a team quarterback and you want to take a flyer here and put this on as your third quarterback situation, good to have. If you don't have team quarterback and you have to draft Cam or Mac, you're in trouble. If you're in single quarterback and you have to draft the player himself, then I wouldn't draft either one of them. If you have team quarterback in my leagues, then I would look at it and say, okay, well, you know what? If they change and Cam and Mac or they use them both, then I'll be okay. The team quarterback thing makes it somewhat enticing as a third quarterback situation. Without it, there's not a lot of enticement for me. And that's really all I have to say about it. The New York Jets, Mr. Sofka, have now gone to their third franchise quarterback. They tried with Mark Sanchez. They scapegoated him out of there. They tried with Sam Darnold still in his rookie contract and scapegoated him out of there. And now they have Zach Wilson. And behind him, James Morgan and Mike White. Raise your hand if you know them. Okay. Also understand that you're watching and listening to the show and I can't see it, but some of you thought about raising your hand and that makes me happy. Zach Wilson is here. Tevin Coleman is there. Ty Johnson, Michael Carter. They still don't know who the heck their running back is after multiple years of trying to figure out Frank Gore, Le'Veon Bell, and on and on and on and on and on and on. They brought in Corey Davis. They have Jamison Crowder. They drafted Elijah Moore. They brought in Keelan Cole. Braxton Berrios is there now. Mike, it looks like more of the same. Maybe the talent's a little bit younger and a little bit more talented. However, is there any value to drafting Zach Wilson knowing that the Jets seemingly don't set up their quarterbacks that great?
Yeah, I like Zach Wilson. I think he's a great project. I think in Dynasty, I would have no problem drafting him as an expectation of being somewhere in the middle. But Zach Wilson's not going to wow anybody. He's not Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning threw a career record interceptions in his rookie year in 98 through 28 interceptions. I'm not saying Zach Wilson's going to throw 29 interceptions. I'm just saying temper your expectations in a redraft. This situation is ranked down near where Cam Newton is, but he's ranked near where Cam Newton is simply because he's a rookie. He's a rookie and he's on the Jets. Corey Davis is not a number one. He put up some number one type numbers, but he was in a contract year. You see they let him walk. Denzel Mims, he needs to stay on the field. Jamison Crowder, I need some leadership. I'm not sure you're the guy out of the slot. I think Elijah Moore is going to see some time sooner than we think. They still have a tight end problem. Chris Herndon's been inconsistent at best. So is Ryan Griffin and Tyler Croft. They did bring in a guy, I like saying the name, Kenny Yaboa. But I'm saying that, yeah, boy, we're going to have to do something with that later on. But I was raising my hand when you were asking who knew Mike White and James Morgan. I was back here doing a Horseshack from Mr. Carter. Ooh. And I'm showing my age there. But Zach Wilson is going to be a guy you can count on, but only in a dynasty league, and only if you temper your expectations that it's not going to be this year. He could have some signs of brilliance. He's going to have some signs of struggle. Know that going in. Stay away from it in redraft. I'm middle of the road on the guy right now as far as dynasty goes.
Yeah, I want Zach Wilson to do well. I want him to rep BYU well. I want to see the Jets get better for my buddy Ross and Brendan and so on and so forth. I'm just in a place right now where I'm not even thinking about drafting. If I have to think about drafting anybody on the Jets, I'm in trouble. Okay? They don't have a declared starter at running back. They don't have a declared starter at wide receiver. They don't have a declared starter at tight end. So, and all those positions affect the who? Quarterback. Hi. So, I'm staying away, and I'm not even thinking about it. Not even thinking about it. Zach Wilson could be Mr. Irrelevant, drafted at the end of your draft. And this is the thing that's sick. He's not irrelevant, but he's on the Jets. Let's push him in that situation. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When Mike and I come back, we'll wrap up our entire AFC look at the quarterback situations of the NFL ahead of your 2021 draft with the AFC West.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecabal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpazsnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Find your way out to the Millhouse Market and download their app on the Google Play or Apple App Store, which makes it extremely easy for you to get directions to the Millhouse Market, as well as have their entire menu at your fingertips. It is so user-friendly and so easy. Stay tuned to Wake Up Call on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT to show you just how easy it is to place an order and to have everything that you need right there. And contactless pay, go to the drive-thru, pick it up, grab, and go. So very easy on the app that has all the rice bowls, the quinoa bowls, the salads, as well as the sandwiches named after the families to help to settle today's Pulaski. Ingrained in our taste buds and ingrained in our community, they are open Tuesday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And when I say open, their drive-through, pick-up, grab, and go window is open. They are also open inside in their general store and to dine in. So head out to the Millhouse Market today and do right by your taste buds and do right by the community. Worth the drive every time. With that being stated, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we're hanging out with Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. We do that every single Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, but we wanted to give you all the AFC quarterbacks and their 16 teams, which means Mike and I are doing more duty than we need to. We always go over. I don't know if we've ever gone under. I would venture to say if that happened, it was once out of the last 578 shows. But Mike and I always under-promise, over-deliver here inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Happy to be here with you and so thankful to be here with you. So appreciate you so much, and I thank you for being a part of the show inside of these beautiful Cafe Kubal studios. Mike and I talking about every situation at quarterback in the AFC with 16 teams. Our last place to go is the AFC West, and we will go there right now, and we'll start in the AFC West with the Denver Broncos, who have been trying to figure out their quarterback situation since John Elway left. Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, and Brett Ripien. Thoughts, Mr. Sofka, on what the Broncos are going to do?
Well, first off, you said we always under-promise, over-deliver. That is correct, and we always go over, and that is correct. It's like Hawaii at midnight. You know, when you're watching college football all day and Hawaii's playing at midnight, go ahead and take the over. That's what they do. We put points on the board. Look, I'm looking at this quarterback situation in Denver, and I'm out. I'm just done with this. I'm already on to the next team. I don't think Drew Lock is the guy. I think they have some weapons around him. And I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is the guy. I think the guy is going to be Javonte Williams because he's going to run the heck out of the ball and take over Melvin Gordon's job. I think Cortland Sutton's a great receiver. I think Jerry Jeudy's a great receiver. Tim Patrick made himself known when time was there. You know, unknowns like Tyree Cleveland participating. Deontay Spencer's going to get in there. But none of these guys strike fear. The one guy I could count on maybe is the tight end, Noah Fant, and that's usually one of the quarterback's best friends is the tight end, the outlet guy. But I think they're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to run the ball some more because I don't think you can count on either one of these guys. Now, maybe when we get closer to the season, I may uptick both of these guys. But right now, I got Drew Lock, the number 34 QB. I got Teddy Bridgewater, number 35. There's only 32 teams. That tells you where I'm at with this quarterback situation. I'm frustrated. Again, another stay as far away from as possible in the Denver quarterback room.
Yeah, stay far away, far, far, far away. And if you can still see it, a little blip, a little speck, a little dot, keep moving until you can't see that little tiny thing on the horizon because the Denver Broncos, if you are drafting their quarterbacks, you are not listening to what we are saying. Greetings, Earthlings. We have now taken over your radio, and we're telling you what to do. Please, please heed our call. Kansas City Chiefs, you might know this guy. I don't know if you do. You may. Pat Mahomes, but he's pretty good, and his numbers aren't too shabby. Not been in the NFL that long, and he's making almost, if you break it down, it's like $50 million a year, something ridiculous. Played in 15 games last season of the regular season, 66.3% completion percentage, 4,740 yards, was second only to Deshaun Watson, and he had 38 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Mike, is there much to say about Pat Mahomes for those that may not know who he is?
Well, this is the antithesis of the situation we just talked about in Denver. You know, this guy's number one. He's the top guy on the list. No matter whose list you look at, Patrick Mahomes. Now, there are a couple people I've seen out there have him ranked as a 2, a 3, or even as low as a 4. I don't see how you can do that with all the weapons, with what he's proven so far. Yeah, they lost the Super Bowl, but they made it 2 years in a row. And I predicted, you go back and check the tape, that the difference in that game would be the line play. The offensive line of the Chiefs, which was dwindling due to injury, and the massive quick defensive line and pressure on the quarterback. Mahomes can work through pressure, but there's a certain point where you've got to say, okay, enough. I need somebody blocking. They've taken care of those blocking woes this year. I think he's got weapons around him. Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman. How can you not like Clyde Edwards-Helaire? How can you not like what they're able to do under Andy Reid, moving the ball? The defense has improved over the years as well. I like Pat Mahomes. If you have the opportunity to get Mahomes as your number one quarterback, so be it. Great. I'm not telling you pick him number one overall. I'm telling you he's the number one quarterback.
Yeah, Pat Mahomes, Pat Mahomes, Pat Mahomes, Pat Mahomes. Oh, wait, there's a guy named Pat Mahomes that you should probably draft. There's nothing for me to say. Look at his numbers. Look at what he's done. Look at how he is. The man throws right-handed, left-handed, all-handed. He can throw on the run. He can throw back foot. I mean, it just doesn't. He's leaning. He's forward. He's doing this. He's doing that. Pat Mahomes is a fantastic player. That man staying healthy for an entire season bodes well for you and your entire team. You don't want to play against him. You want to play with him. He's a fantastical specimen of an athlete, and when you get the chance to draft him, draft him. That doesn't mean, like Mike said, you don't draft him number one overall. But somebody's going to take the quarterback, and it's going to start the kind of bleeding out of quarterbacks. So Pat Mahomes will be the first one off, and will he be taken 5th, 6th, 7th in your draft overall? Well, we'll see. But once he's gone, that's when you take the Josh Allen. You got to know when to strike. And I would tell you that if your top running back, top 2 running backs, top 3 running backs are gone, top couple wide receivers are gone, then that's where you jump. That's where you jump. You don't jump over your running back and wide receiver if it's the top one. But if they're gone, right, if Derrick Henry's gone and if there's guys that are gone, probably more running back. But once those guys are gone, that's where you go with Pat Mahomes. That's where you take the plunge. You don't do it first overall, but somebody's going to wait too long. Everybody except for that one person is going to wait too long. So I would imagine within the top 5, 6, 7 picks, he's going to get taken. That's just how it is. Somebody's going to do that, and then that's where Josh Allen and the other guys come off the board. Las Vegas Raiders, Mike. This is a team of current and former starters. Derek Carr has started since he got there. Marcus Mariota was a former number 2 pick who is behind Derek Carr, who used to start in Tennessee. And Nathan Peterman, well, he used to start in Buffalo. What are your thoughts on the Raiders?
Jeez, I think you made me just almost drop the phone here when you said Nathan Peterman. This is a guy who threw 5 interceptions in one half. Yeah, Nathan Peterman's nothing there. If Carr gets hurt, Mariota's a guy, and he has stepped up at times. But the problem is at quarterback on this situation, on this team. Yeah, John Gruden normally the QB collector. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see another 6 guys come in here before, camp. But Derek Carr's had 3 straight seasons of at least 4,000 passing yards and 67% completion percentage. That's great. And after 7 years as a starter, he holds the Raiders' all-time records for completions, passing yards, and passing touchdowns. That being said, he's still just an average Joe quarterback. From a fantasy perspective, he's the guy that I can look to maybe on a bye week. Maybe he's a backup on my team. He's a low-level quarterback, too. Even with Henry Ruggs, Brian Edwards, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, Darren Waller, his biggest target. It's Derek Carr. It's the Raiders. I know what I'm going to get. I'm not going to expect too much. In fact, I'm probably not going to draft this guy at all, unfortunately. But things can change between now and, week 1. But right now, yeah, I'm not even a part of it. I got him at 23. I've seen him as high as 16 and as low as 38. Again, I have him at 23, and I'm not excited.
Yeah, I'm not excited about Derek Carr either. I'm actually kind of surprised that he's still on the team right now, to be completely honest, because I didn't know how sold John Gruden was on him. So I'm surprised he's still there, but he is. And, as long as he's the starter for now. And, could I see if he falters a little bit that maybe Gruden goes to Mariota for a little bit? Yeah, but I think, the Raiders are kind of ripe for drafting a quarterback or making a plunge for somebody, probably drafting one. They have a bunch of weapons. It's just I just don't see Derek Carr necessarily being there that much longer, so I'd stay away from this situation unless you need a lower-end quarterback too and a bunch of guys are gone. Well, then in that case, you got to make the moves you got to make. Los Angeles Chargers, Justin Herbert, he took over last year when he had to when Tyrod Taylor went down. Easton Stick is there, and so is Chase Daniel, who has found longevity inside of the NFL, which kudos to him. And I want to make his name known because he has definitely been a second or third string for multiple years in the NFL. What are your thoughts on Justin Herbert?
Yeah, Justin Herbert is a guy who had no expectations of him ever seeing the field last year's rookie year, thought to be a project quarterback out of Oregon. And sure enough, he had to step in early right away, 15 minutes before game time. Oh, by the way, you're the starter early in the NFL season. But he's got guys on the team. He's got guys like Keenan Allen. He's got guys like Mike Williams. You're going to see some Josh Palmer this year as well, a guy they just drafted. Austin Eckler has been great, but when he was hurt, well, they had to split up the backfield. I don't think they have that big punch behind Austin Eckler. He did bring in Jared Cook, the 187-year-old tight end, is going to do some good things. Yeah, they let go of Hunter Henry, but they drafted Trey McKitty, which should be able to do something, not right away. I look at Justin Herbert to still have a great year. I don't think he's a top 5 guy. He's not the guy I'm looking forward to drafting as my quarterback, but I do have him ranked as number 7. I've seen him as high as number 5 and as low as 11. I do think he has upside. In a dynasty, I would rank him even higher. I would rank him number 5 as a dynasty quarterback. Look, I think he's going to continue to grow. I think there's going to be some growing pains. But I think the Chargers are a team to reckon with all the way around, defense and their offense. I think Justin Herbert can be a big part of their success this season, or he could be a big part of their failure. So kind of a hit and miss thing. I still have faith in Justin Herbert at number 7, though.
Yeah, I think Justin Herbert's got a lot to offer, and I think, there's upside for him as well. He's got some weapons, as Mike talked about. There's some good here. Austin Eckler, somebody's going to emerge or have to. From Justin Jackson to Josh Kelly, you hope one of them will. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, both back there doing their thing. Jared Cook coming in. Donald Parham, who made some hay inside of the XFL. He's there now without Hunter Henry to stop him. So there's some good here for Justin Herbert. I think, honestly, he's a serviceable. He's a guy in redraft because he was a rookie last year. He's one that's going to fall like Tua that you could pick up. So, Greg, to answer your question, Justin Herbert, he's going to fall down the list as well, and he would be a great steal. So, I like the opportunity to take him late and reap the benefits of it. So, with that being said, this is where we are. Mike, we went through the entire AFC, and I appreciate it as always. Every quarterback situation of the 16 teams in the AFC. Next week, we'll have the NFC as we get you closer and closer to your 2021 fantasy football draft. Before you know it, you'll be sitting in the draft room, and you'll have all of these videos and all of this information from Mike and I, and you would say, why am I more prepared this year than any other year? And we will tell you because you came here every Wednesday to the Fantasy Football Power Hour from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, but we always go over. Proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Open 7 days a week on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, and, of course, for takeout and delivery. 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. Mike of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com and our joint venture of the Facebook page, Winning Fantasy Football. I appreciate you as always. Join our group today, Winning Fantasy Football. And Mike, we will talk to you soon.
Sounds like a plan, Dan. Talk to you next time.
That coming from Mr. Sofka, as we have gone almost 2 hours today for the Fantasy Football Power Hour, which has brought us to the end of today's show. I want to give a special thanks to Mike Sofka, of course, for being a guest every single Wednesday in hour number 2 of the broadcast. And, of course, I want to show my love, respect, and appreciation and say thank you as well to Prince Tyson Gully, our first video here, and showing him some love for being a part of our broadcast, and thank him so much for being a part of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So I hope you all have a tremendous day. You stay safe, stay well, and we'll look forward to talking with you soon. Tomorrow we will be live in a special location, and to find out where and with who, you'll have to go to our social media at Wake Up Call DT on Facebook, at Call DT on the Twitter, and at Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. We'll see you soon from the Cafe Kubal Studios. This is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Cafe Kubal, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse. inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital and 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. Head out there today to enjoy Cafe Cubal, hot or iced. We'll see you soon from a special location tomorrow morning. A lot of great stuff coming up on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We will be in the community this week, as we always are jumping out into the community. A lot of great stuff coming up. We look forward to seeing you soon. And in the meantime, God bless. No stress. Do your best.